you know, we're just nothing. But you sure we got the clue how that this we go. Don't you know, no more art. And as I look to the horizon, not a cloud, but then stormy weather's go too cold. Seems like it crept up out of nowhere, all around you is not what you foretold. You never see it coming. You see that my mind is too fast for eyes. You're done, but the time is hit you, you're not surprised.
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
What?
Simply because you don't have evidence that something does exist does not mean that you have evidence that something doesn't exist.
What?
What country you from?
What?
What ain't no country I ever heard of. They speak English in what?
What?
English, motherfucker! Do you speak it?
Yeah.
So you understand the words I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that there are known knowns and that there are known unknowns, but there's also unknown unknowns. Things we don't know that we don't know.
What?
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more time.
What?
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom and welcome to the Galtopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. No tagline. Ladies and gentlemen, today is October 15th, 2018, and yesterday was an interesting day. Not only was yesterday Sunday Fun Day, meaning that if you guys were around, you got to see Medicare stream, but, and I was hoping Tevin was going to stream yesterday, but he decided to take a break. He probably watched the Medicare stream also. But King Tut makes his triumphant return to DSP stream. Now, I don't want to sit there and call the man a hypocrite or anything like that, but he was pretty vocal about his thoughts when it came to DSP and his community mainly, on his way out, which that was what, September 24th? He said that he wasn't going to come back. He said he wouldn't drop his morals to do so, but yet he shows back up. And not only did he just come back, but he also dropped a nice little $50 tip for Dave. I'm sure Dave liked that. Now, a lot of people thought initially it was going to be a troll. This wasn't the real King Tut. He wouldn't go back on his word. But, you know, all of the medals and stuff next to his name prove otherwise. So before we get into what is a very thrown together timeline, so please forgive me on that one, which this timeline will span from September 24th all the way up to the present day, October 15th. Before we get into that, we talk a little bit, just a little bit, about who King Tut is. Well, actually, we're not going to. The information that we have on Tut, I'm not going to put out like his personal information and all that shit. That's not what we do here, and it's just not really important to the subject. There are plenty of people who have dug into that. Someone on Kiwi Farms, I feel, has come up with some of the most compelling information because it's similar to stuff that most people in the tractor community had already heard. One of the things that caught me off guard, and you're going to see it throughout this video, is the fact that the guy who was holding the DSP Get a Job sign, not only last year, but this year, as well as the Sean Ranklin, shouts out the Sean Ranklin sign, might actually be King Tut. So a lot of what I'm going to say over the next couple minutes is going to be alleged. But if you choose to go to the Kiwi Farms thread, it's very compelling. The individual in question, they say he's a surgeon, but he apparently comes from money. He's apparently doing very well off for himself. A nice BMW, some nice car, some other nice toys, some nice watches. He's got some nice stuff. Good for him. And apparently he's a fan of the FGC, which, speaking of which, I may have made a mess up in the last news broadcast about the how the FGC is screwing up COD. I'm sorry, it was supposed to be esports. I meant esports is screwing up COD. And if you guys want me to elaborate on that, I'll do that at a later time. Sorry, not the FGC. So my fault on that if that's what I said. I didn't mean it that way. In any case, he's a fan of the FGC. People found his Twitter, his Instagram. They found some other accounts too, which, as you guys know now, they're either protected or private, which, you know, goes a long way into proving that might be Tut, because all this happened, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 14, 15 hours. It didn't take long for all this to come about. In any case, he apparently is trying to design himself off as a troll, but likes giving money to people like Wings of Redemption, Low Tier God, who is no longer on the platform. We'll talk about that in a minute. And DSP. So him making his exit originally from DSP's stream, which happened on the 24th / 25th, if you will. Give myself a little bit of wiggle room with this. Didn't hurt him too much because he could just go over there to Low Tier God, which makes sense. And he did for a little while, until Low Tier God mysteriously ends up getting banned off Twitch again. Now, we have already done a broadcast that talked about this, and Low Tier God says this happens quite a bit. He's just kind of surprised that they were able to take him down, and he's basically still down for as long as he has. He's still trying to fight it, and, you know, for good reason. But it is rather surprising that someone with a whole lot of pull, outside of the maybe 50 to 100 trolls that go after Low Tier God daily, someone with some real clout was able to push him off the platform. Now, speculation is running rampant. I personally think that Dave must have had something to do with it. And why not? He just lost King Tut. He had two guys who spurged out. He had a third one who was trying to defend Tut and trying only to explain the situation to Dave on why Tut left. And while simultaneously explaining that Alex Seidella was in there with a sock account, which is ban evasion, which is against TOS, but not that TOS matters over there on Phil's streams, of course. But just for the record, that was breaking TOS, and he ended up getting shit on for about 10 minutes or so and said that he's banned permanently, fuck him, goodbye. Only to return like at the end of that stream or later on the next day. So it pays to be a troll, quote unquote, and have clout in Phil's inner circle, which is the reason why Jake Likes Cats was able to get back into the full swing of things. In any case, King Tut makes his exit. Low Tier God ends up falling out by the wayside a couple days later. And I'm thinking that Dave was under the impression that, well, now that Low Tier God is gone, maybe this guy will come back. And if Tut would come back. And if so, he can get back into where they picked up from and getting this money. Especially since Dave had to give a dressing down to Swaggins and to Alex Seidella about the situation and about them basically harassing Tut or whatever the case may be. Because, ladies and gentlemen, apparently Swaggins forgot what the rules are over there. He who has the money has the power. Now, let's talk a little bit about Swaggins and Seidella. Swaggins, to be honest with you, is a bit of a cuck. And he has been for a little while now. He's someone who's given quite a bit of money to Phil. And in the early days, he was appreciated for it. He paid for his mod chip, and he was able to do well by it for a little while. And I will say that in his own little way, he did try to make Phil's streams better. He tried to crack jokes. He tried to have certain conversations in the chat that could or could not possibly bleed into Phil, because as you know, Phil doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't read anything. So he doesn't know nothing. So he tried to help Phil out with that. And essentially, he was either bashed, ridiculed, or ignored. We're talking about someone that at one time could throw some money around and he would be the man for the day. To the point where he was throwing up $100 and Phil would be like, oh, Swaggins donated $100. Thanks, Swaggins. And then right back to the game. But then someone else would give $50. Oh, hey, thanks a lot, guy. Hey, I really appreciate it, man. It's going to go right to my bills. That's kind of what happens, Swaggins, when you're taken advantage of. And he basically treated you like the local whore and knew that you would come back. So why does he have to give you any acknowledgement? You have nowhere else to go. Sad, really. Let's talk about Alex Seidella. Oh, boy. Now, Alex Seidella is an interesting one. Not just the fact that he's disabled. That doesn't make him interesting. It's the fact that he's a blatant racist who doesn't know how to talk to women, doesn't really know how to talk to anybody, to be honest, who has this strange hatred for Almighty Tevin. Praise be Almighty. Let's talk about that a little bit. First off, Seidella's mother makes absolutely fucking delicious cookies. Oh my god. Oh my god. She keeps telling me her pie is better. And since Seidella is going off to a special camp next week, oh boy, I'm going to be indulging on that. I mean, anyway, I'll tell you how that all goes later on. In any case, Alex Seidella is an interesting one. He is the prime example of why you do not let Phil have influence on people. On any type of person, to be honest with you. Alex Seidella, in some strange, rather pathetic sort of way, may look at Phil as some type of older brother / father figure, which is ironic being that he has both of those things in his life. Well, in any case, he's been around for a long time. Him and Phil go way back to the condo in Connecticut. And in turn, he's given money to Phil. How much? I couldn't tell you, but I would assume over the years and years and years that he's been there, he's given quite a bit. So that gives Seidella a certain level of protection on top of his disability, which Phil is very well aware of. And also, by keeping Alex Seidella around, it helps Phil out because no one can ever say that he has anything against people who are disabled or whatnot. Because, look, his best buddy, air quotes, is Alex Seidella. Now, let's talk a little bit about Seidella's racism. It's racism. There's no need to explain it. But it ties over to somebody very interesting. Almighty Tevin. Now, why Alex has this rather intense hatred for Almighty Tevin is not necessarily known. Well, it's kind of known, but I like to say that it isn't. Because, Seidella's not that important. And maybe he is. I'm not planning on making a video on him later, so maybe he is somewhat prevalent. In any case, he has this hatred for Almighty Tevin. My general thought is that they had a conversation online. Seidella couldn't handle the banter, and he decided to be a bitch, which is typical of people who follow Dave. In any case, he decides to go around, say his racism, go ahead and call black people North American apes, say that they all have AIDS, this, that, and a third. While doing that, he also, when he's attacked by other people, he has the nerve to say that, oh, you guys would really pick on someone or pick on people who have cancer. He doesn't have cancer, by the way. Or, you know what I'm saying? I'm disabled. Why are you guys picking on me? Why are you guys bullying me? Or, one of the recent stitches he likes to go with is that, you know what, I forgive you guys anyway. God will forgive you because you guys do not know for what you do. Which is cute. It's cute to have a racist who would run to religion. Apparently, Alex Seidella doesn't know much about what the church did back in the days. But we'll save that for another time all in itself. In any case, Seidella is basically a cuck too. I'm not saying that he's following tradition in his family, but he's certainly a cuck. In any case, he's your typical idiot, and a typical idiot with a taste for underage girls. We're going to touch on that in another video. And no, Alex, not in that way. If anybody's going to go to jail here, it might be you, not us. But then again, your mother is an attorney, so you may not have nothing to worry about. In any case, as it pertains to Seidella, he basically jumps into the fray too. Now, the thing is with Swaggins, he has a reason to be pissed off at Tut. He came in, he took all of his attention that was in decline anyway, similar to Phil's YouTube channel before he screwed everything up with Machinima. But why would Alex want to jump into that fight? Well, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Seidella was on a sock account. The only person that can actually confirm that, at least from what I've seen, is Jake Likes Cats and maybe one or two guys on Twitter. But yet again, that still doesn't explain why Seidella would want to jump in all that. Maybe he just wanted to come through and help Swaggins out. I don't know. Birds of a feather flock together, I guess. In any case, this causes Tut to go ahead and make his exit. And at least for a few days, saying and proclaiming, I should say, that this wasn't what he wanted. That it wasn't Dave's fault, but the people in Dave's community that really brought this upon everybody. The stream could be entertaining. It could have potential, but the people in the community that is on the streams are what make it all bad. I beg to differ when I say that all they're doing is what their master tells them to do. He groomed all of them to be this way. It's very possible that they all came in with their type of tendencies and codependencies beforehand. Everybody has some type of baggage. But Phil molded it and shaped it to his advantage. It's what he does. In any case, let's go into this timeline, which is very buggy. So we went over the 24th and 25th, which is basically when the drama came about on stream. While all this was happening, Phil, who was at his computer, he was going over some of the donations. He saw what was going on and could have stopped it, but didn't, believing that they would work it out on their own. But in actuality, shit got out of control. Tut ends up leaving, and then Phil ends up spurging out, yelling and screaming, talking about, I can't do this, man. I'm just a content creator. I don't have time to do this. I don't have the ability to do this. You guys need to calm down and chill. Ladies and gentlemen, all this man had to do was manage a chat. And all he had to do is manage two fucking idiots in that chat. Two idiots that he's very well acquainted with. But see, Phil can't afford to rip down Swaggins and Alex Seidela because they've been around for a long time and they've given him quite a bit of money. He didn't want to risk losing them while still hoping to preserve Tut. Rather pathetic to say the very least, but that's how Dave rolls. Speaking of which, actually, one more thing that I'd like to point out. Only a few people are talking about this, but I think it's very important that it comes about, because it needs to. DSP tries it. There's a DSP tries it that's already been paid for, or has already been earned, if you will. And Phil needs to fulfill that. He owes it. People need to hold him to task and make sure that he does it. Because if not, he's going to try to pull the same bait and switch that he did with, what was that? Mario Sunshine. Where people voted on it. It won. They paid for it. And he sat there and gave them Spiral the Dragon instead, saying that, oh, well, I'm already playing two games. He was playing Mario plus Rabbids, and he was playing, Mario Odyssey or something like that? At the time, he was playing two Mario games, and he said that there's no point in doing a third because there's too much Mario in 1 month or in one short period of time. And two, and this is the most important part, ladies and gentlemen, why am I going to sit there and play a third Mario game when I don't profit off any of them? Phil said that he cannot make any money off those videos that are going to go on YouTube because Nintendo claims everything. So it's not feasible for him to go ahead and play it at that time. He would rather just spread it out. Now, why exactly would he say that, ladies and gentlemen? Why would this idiot have the nerve to say, I'm not going to get paid for playing Mario Sunshine, even though it won the polls? He already was paid for it. Well, a couple of reasons. None of them are good. But one, Phil was going to be compensated. He already was. At the onset, when it won, he ended up getting his money for it. That was how he was paid for it. Now, let's get into some of the extra perks that he likes to gloss over. The support on his platform of choice, his personal hug box, Twitch. He's getting his tips, his bits, even more subs and donations. That's how he's going to be compensated. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been on a Phil stream or watched it through your medium of choice, you know that Phil has spurred out about Nintendo plenty of times. He does it at least every couple of months. So we all know he doesn't get paid off his Nintendo videos. So we all know that he's going to beg for people to be more generous on those streams and for Patreon and other things to compensate. So for him to blatantly lie and say that I'm not going to get paid off of these Nintendo playthroughs is absolute bullshit. So what he was hoping to do is he throws out Spiral the Dragon, he plays that to try to use that as the argument that, oh, I still fulfilled my obligations because I still gave you a game. I gave you an extra game. I was just putting Mario Sunshine on the back burner. What he was hoping to do was just that. Put Mario Sunshine on the back burner 2-3 months, and then have another Patreon drive or another sub goal drive, and then he would fulfill it then. That's what his idea was. That's what his plan was. He was trying to double dip, and it didn't work. People held him to task and whatnot. In turn, his fan base held him to task, and he was forced to do it. Now, let's talk a little bit, just briefly, about that whole Mario Sunshine situation. First off, he didn't have any of the equipment needed to make all this happen. At all. He had to pay, I think Phil said he dropped about $100, maybe $130 to end up making that Mario Sunshine playthrough actually happen. And he was very begrudging about it. He was very, very pissed off about that whole situation, which sounds to me like someone who was never planning on doing it. At all. Who never had any intention of doing it. Who only put it up on the polls because he knew it was going to win. It was going to guarantee him that money. And then he would sidestep it and give them something else in the hopes that that completionist run would carry the day and then he could use Mario Sunshine later. Just my thoughts, though. Could be my autism. Not sure. In any case, that's what the situation was with that. Oh my God. So, let's jump over to October 1st. At this time, you're not allowed to say King Tut. Now, am I saying that it was a banned word at the time, similar to Brightside Viking? No, I don't think so. But he was certainly getting pissed off in the days from Tut's departure of people bringing his name up over and over again. He was getting very, very pissed off about it. To be perfectly honest with you, it was jealousy. It was jealousy and envy that someone was able to come in, throw the money around, which only benefited Phil, and yet people loved him for it. It's kind of funny. It's almost like the people of Goutopia / Davetopia found someone to look up to. Found someone who spread his wealth around and who was actually generous about what he did. Because it wasn't like King Tut was only giving money to Phil. He bought a bunch of gifted subs and was throwing them around like they were hotcakes. And everybody was prospering. Everybody had availability to emotes and all the other little bullshit over there that seems like it's worth something and it's not. People liked him. Liked him possibly more than Dave. To the point where people would show up on the stream only to talk to King Tut or only to interact with him. And that started to work against Dave's nerves. So much so, in fact, that it sounds to me, he came down with the exact same thing that Swaggins came down with. In any case, upon Tut's departure, Phil didn't want his name to be brought up. So much, in fact, that he was grateful for everything that came out of September, but didn't name Tut. Refused to do it. And just said, generous parties helped us get to where we're at now. Which allegedly led to Phil's little staycation that he took for about 2 or 3 days. That's still up in the air, but it's still a pretty interesting theory. In any case, and using the cover story that his internet was out, which is a nice cover story, but it's not very good. People were able to pick that apart pretty fast. October 3rd, King Tut returns. Shows back up on the morning stream and is attacked almost repeatedly. And eventually makes a departure. Now, what caused this attack? Well, Phil, filling his fan base's heads up with, oh, it's possible that he could be a detractor. Oh, it's possible that he may have devious motives and whatnot. So, essentially, they just did what Phil willed them to do. His fan base, the Pig Roach cult, if you will, are merely an extension of him. So, they were acting at his behest. Interestingly enough, it kind of backfired on him when you go back to why Tut left in the first place, when Sidella and Swaggins attacked him in the first place. But then again, if you go back a little further than that, given that Phil ran into a situation where someone was giving a bunch of cheers and it was all off a stolen credit card or whatever the case may be, and there was a bunch of chargebacks, it was suspected that King Tut was behind that. So much so, in fact, that the chat was actually riled up into actually trying, possibly looking at harassing him the next time he came around. There was a lot of suspicion thrown on Tut for that situation. Come to find out, at least as far as we know, Tut had nothing to do with it. But you see how mob mentality can come about from Dave. He almost fucked himself right then and there. But that's okay. If you guys know Phil, and you know how Phil likes to treat himself, he fucked himself later on. It's in his nature. So, Tut tries to make his return on the 3rd. Shit didn't go well. He ends up leaving temporarily. But he actually makes his official exit for the 2nd time on October 4th. Not necessarily a lot of fanfare. He's just like, I'm out. I don't need to deal with this. It is what it is. Boom, he's gone. And then he returns back yesterday. Now, as it pertains to Tut coming back yesterday, I don't want to call him a hypocrite, but he is a bit of a hypocrite. You realize more so than anyone, because King Tut has had correspondence with Phil outside of the stream. There's emails between the two of them. I would love to see what those emails say. I'm sure we all would. King Tut knows what Phil is, and he understands what Phil's nature is. He said this to other people before. So why do you feel the need to go over there? Now, this goes into this interesting argument about social experiment or trolling. If it's trolling, it's excessive. And it's excessive from a financial standpoint. To throw this amount of money at Phil for what little payoff, for a very, very little payoff, I should say, is kind of silly. But on the other side of that coin, we have someone who's come in and in less than 60 days had Phil convinced, mind, body, and soul, to be solely dependent on him. And so much so that Phil himself admitted that he only got through the last month or two because of Tut. That the last couple months were only so great, so positive because of Tut's participation. If you're a fan of Phil, who goes to his streams, watches his videos, contributes not only your time, but your money to him, that was a smack in the face. That one man was prioritized over all of you. That his August and September were only successful because of King Tut. The rest of you guys were merely peons. You were merely spare blood. Your little shillings was just there just to be on the safe side. Tut handled all the major bills and helped pay for that alleged staycation, and you guys just covered a couple meals. If that. Maybe gas. Which just goes to show how Phil actually feels about his fan base. Look at how he treats them. Does this sound like respect? Does it sound like he gives a damn about them in any type of way, shape, or form? Outside of what they can provide. And once those provisions have been given, you guys can go. I'll see you when you have more money. The King Tut situation, and as a whole, I should say, is an example of foolishness where one man who's 36 years old can be manipulated by everybody around him for the love of money. Now that ties into the social experiment type situation. If this is a social experiment, it's a pretty shitty one. To be honest with you, Phil's detractor groups prove and are probably some of the best examples of a social experiment. You can see every different face that Phil has through them. And it's all documented. It's all there. You're another player on the board. That's all Tut really was. So if you're trying to prove something as it pertains to human nature or about Phil in general or about how society works, you didn't really prove much. But then again, you may have exposed something about yourself, Tut. A lot of people feel and have felt since the beginning, to be honest with you, that you're nothing more than an attention whore. You're someone who threw your money around to get a buzz off both sides. That you were the man for about a month, for about 2 months. I'm not going to downplay that. You were a rather interesting talking point. To say that you're a troll, though, it's a bit excessive. But if that's how you get your kicks, and if you have the disposable income to do it, then so be it. If you're an attention whore, though, if you're one, how did it work out for you? Because it's funny, when you showed up, people said that eventually his fan base would probably end up getting you up and out of there. Or Dave would eventually get you up and out of there. Which is exactly what happened. But now you're back again, though, King Tut. You're back with a vengeance. You're back for the sake of Dave. It seems like you're not going to let anybody else run you off this time around. And you may be there for the long haul. But in the attempt of being an attention whore, alleged, now people know who you are. They know how to find you. Was it worth it? Similar to the way that whoever that one furry was decided to go at Medicare the other day by calling him a pedophile. Which was a dumb angle anyway. It was a stupid fucking angle. And all it did was put all eyes on him. Not Medicare. Medicare found what he needed and he used that as his talking point. It was other people who took, 15, 20 minutes to deep dive and found everything about him. This furry basically goes on Twitter, spurs out about Medicare. I'll try to shorten the story up, but you should check out the video because it's it's hilarious. Spurs out on Medicare. Medicare says he will agree to talk to him. They end up going on the Ralph retort, and was basically 50 minutes of this guy making himself look like an idiot while Medicare lit up a cigarette and just chilled. There really was, Medicare didn't have to, or Jim, didn't have to put any effort in that whatsoever. He tore this person down piece by piece. And as Medicare is basically slicing him up as one would slice up a beef dinner, the people online ended up exposing him. And then finding out where he was because he linked his real life to his online persona. And in 20 minutes, in 10 minutes, the Kiwi Farms thread was up. In another 5 minutes, everybody knew his name, address, his job, everything. Now, this individual admitted throughout the duration of the stream that he wanted attention. He thought it was funny until it wasn't funny. Until people were able to find out other dirty little secrets besides what Medicare was pointing at him. Which I think the only reason why Medicare used that one particular talking point on him is because he knew what, if he expanded on it, he knew what was going to happen next. The irony is it happened anyway. Do I blame Jim for that? Not at all. I blame the guy who wanted all that goddamn attention, and he got it. He got way more than it. With you, King Tut, is no different. If you are out there for attention, if you think this is how you're going to get your rocks off, it's going to become something way more than that. Now, I'm not saying that anybody's going to come out there and try to hurt you or anything like that. It's not the case. But people will deep dive into you. Now, at the end of the day, if you want to stay over there, you want to support Phil and be his new form of life support, then go ahead. Best of luck to you. Don't try to play both sides. Don't sit there and do that and then get mad and then try to run back over to Theo again. Or run back to anybody else for that matter and try to spin off some sob story. Because they're going to just bring this up. Not this video, of course, but bring up your situation on you going back and forth. And you're going to have the answer for that. Maybe you should talk to the Jackal's Lair and James the Lesser. And maybe you can do an interview with them on their podcast. I'm sure they'd love to pick your mind about it. And I would assume they'll be a lot more gentle about it than I would. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, that right there is basically the King Tut saga. I'm sorry there's no video packages or anything like this. This is kind of off the cuff. But I believe the tweets and a lot of the screen captures I have will tell the story. Thank you yet again to the individuals who were able to provide that on Twitter. And you just move off that. The next couple of days should be interesting. Like I said, I'm recording this on Monday. I'm not sure if Phil actually acknowledged the Tut on a pre-stream or anything yet. But if he doesn't today, he might do it tomorrow. And we'll go from there. And then I still have a King Tut video in the works anyway. So that should be interesting. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. I am anxious to hear about it. Quick stuff. Someone asked if I watch or if I read One Piece. I do both. The time travel Devil Fruit right now is kind of wonky for me, but it's also hella OP. So I'll leave it at that. If you guys were watching the Medicare stream yesterday, they brought up Goblin Slayer. You guys have not watched it yet. 2 episodes are out. You might be able to still find them on YouTube, if not Crunchyroll, or if you're a pirate king like us here, you can pretty much find it anywhere. Check them out. There is a bit of a controversy going around. If anybody wants me to actually address that, I will later on at the end of another broadcast. All I have to say about it is this. The manga and the manga and the light novel touch on those controversial subjects a lot deeper. And to finish that and drive that home, Berserk. If any of you guys have read Berserk, you know what that shit's about. And no one complains about that. So, there you go with that. Goblin Slayer, you should check it out. It's a good series. Like I said, the anime is 2 episodes in, but the manga is still out. It's still ongoing. You can find it anywhere. And if you decide to jump into the light novels, they're actually a pretty good read. I'd recommend them. That's it for me. Actually, I don't really have anything else to say. We'll wait for your comments down below, and we'll go from there and see what happens about that. Should be interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network and Productions. Thank you guys very much for your time. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you, I guess we'll end up uploading this today. So you'll get 2 videos today. You got one this morning, and you'll get this one hopefully in a few hours from the time that I'm recording this. So that's cool. So I guess it's a decent way to start off a Monday. But thank you very much for listening in. And we'll wait and see what your comments are down below, if anything. I am your host / anchor GTG, and I'm signing off. End of broadcast.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised.